Hello again. My name's Erica Laurel Jones and I'm part of the marketing team here at Target Integration. Today, I'm with Target Integration CEO, Rohit Thakral, and we're going to be talking about Quick Start implementation. So what it is, when it might be used, how it's used, and some of the benefits of using this method. Hello again, Rohit.
Hi, Erica.
So I think the best place to start is to try and gain an understanding of exactly what this Quick Start implementation, Quick Start methodology is. So I'm wondering if you can give us an overview.
Yeah, Quick Start methodology is a modern way of implementing software. It's not the old way of going through a big implementation cycle and then, you get the results at the end of the whole process. It's Quick Start, as it is called. And Quick Start means you start using the software almost immediately. You pick up the software, you go, you identify the areas, you review which all areas need a new digital transformation, need a new software system. And if they don't have a software system in that particular department, you start implementing there first. If they do have a software, you come up with a migration plan. And yes, go for the low-hanging fruits, the easiest ones first, and then make it complex as you go along. So Quick Start effectively means start quickly, implement slowly, but implement as you go, improve as you go.
So what exactly does it involve then?
Effectively, quite a lot of training on the software. So you pick up the software, there is a champion who learns quite a lot about the software before he or she goes in and tells other users about it. That single point of contact or the software champion effectively understands and learns the software inside out and creates the processes to map in the business. So effectively, if we do deal with the sales orders in a particular way in the business, let's see how it does in the software, bring the overlap to the users and say, this is how we are going to do it in the new system. And effectively start using it.
Okay, so from what you've said already, I'm guessing that this is probably something that's, I suppose, maybe more suited to specific kind of projects or size of an organization. So how would you qualify them and when would you recommend that you kind of adopt this sort of process rather than maybe a traditional implementation?
How you adopt this process? I mean, to be honest, yes, you're right. It can't be implemented in a 200, 500 employee company. You can only do this in small teams. You can do this in small businesses only. And, it can be done in a small department of one of the bigger, larger organizations, but it cannot definitely go across the organization. Now, of course, all of these statements are big which we make, and then we realize, no, it can be. Of course, exceptions are already out there as well, where yes, you can implement a software system or digital transformation in an agile, in a quick start way in businesses. But this is particularly suitable for small businesses. Industry specific? No, it's not. You can actually take any industry and implement it there. You have to have the most important part of this exercise of this project is the single point of contact. That single point of contact for the organization is that particular hub where everybody talks to when they have a problem with the software. This hub makes decisions around how the software should work and how it should be implemented and how users must interact with the software. So it is very important to have a very strong software champion in the organization, and it's the performance of the software champion which ensures whether the project is going to be a success or a failure.
Okay. So from a client's perspective, what would be the key benefits from them? I mean, to me, there sounds like there's a very obvious one in terms of moving stuff through quickly, but what other kinds of things, or how would you explain to a client why this is the way to go? What's going to be in it for them?
There are quite a number of quick advantages which are there. First of all, of course, nowadays when you go for a software, you pay for the license fee immediately. So why not take the benefit immediately as well? So if they start using it immediately, they generally start getting the benefits immediately. And that's one of the biggest reason of going for quick start. Second is it's an agile approach. It's an easy to take up approach. From a change management perspective, it's easier for people to know about the software, learn about the software, and then it slowly grows in the organization. It's one of those things that we talk about on a regular basis. I never needed a smartphone, but as soon as it came into my hands, it grew. You started installing apps, you started doing everything with it. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and yes, it started from how mobile phones were built to make phone calls, and then SMS came in, and then smartphones. So how that progression has happened, if you look at it, change management in organizations can be brought in the same way. So one biggest advantage, start using it immediately. Second, change management is easier. Third, it's the progress. Rome wasn't built in a day. And even if you go for a big changeover process as well, you must keep up with the software and the changes on a regular basis. So if you start with an agile approach, with a quick start approach, you can be in that mode of let's improve it on a regular basis. It can be easy on the budget. That's another thing as well, because most of your effort is coming in from your single point of contact. So this methodology is actually easier on the budget as well. And you're controlling the budget. You can say, actually, if I do most of the work myself, I don't have to depend on the software partner to deliver the work. And that way, yes, it can be a little bit easier on the budget for the project as well.
So one thing that a term that you've mentioned several times there is about agile. So for anyone who's not really familiar with this methodology, that's quite it's really quite common in project management as an approach, but for anyone who doesn't know the term, could you just talk us through that?
Sure. So agile is, yes, in a software world, people use agile on a regular basis, but not in business world as much. Of course, with the term, we know it's agile, it's quick, it's moving, it's always progressing, it's always developing. And that's what applies to quick start as well. The methodology comes from agile, but it's more about changing the requirements on a regular basis or progressing them on a regular basis and delivering small chunks of small pieces of work regularly to your stakeholders. It effectively makes sure that you're never down a particular direction in your project and realizing, oh, this is not what we wanted. You see the progress on a regular basis and you can actually change the course as you go along as well.
So going back to just something else you've mentioned as well a couple of times, and I wanted to just explore it a bit more, was my understanding as well in advance and from hearing things around it is that the single point of contact, whilst it's key in any kind of project owner, project management, it really, really is key in this kind of implementation. Could you maybe expand on that?
Yeah, if you look at it, that single point of contact, a number of times people come to us and say, you know what, we have a nephew or a niece. Would they be suitable? They are off for summer. Can they come in and do this project? We have an intern coming in. Can he or she work on this? And we say no. That single point of contact has to have enough power to make decisions about the particular direction for the business. They should also have the responsibility and some sort of stake in making this project a success as well. So you want to have a very strong person, somebody who knows the business end to end, who has worked with the business for a while. If you're bringing somebody else from outside, if you're bringing somebody else fresh, new in the business, we would say, yeah, there is a risk. There is a major risk here. They probably don't know enough about the business, how people work, how people, interact internally. So definitely the recommendation is that you bring somebody who's internal and you bring somebody who has been in the business for a while before you give them the software or digital transformation project.
So I suppose they're almost a conduit between the client and yourselves, and they're the person that's driving, reporting back, taking back. So yeah, that's quite a big role for somebody, and they need to have time to focus on that.
And that's correct. Again, you can't give it to someone who already has a lot of workload. You can't give it to somebody who's doing their day job and then you go, okay, well, look, as part of this, you may implement an ERP system or implement a CRM system. No, it has to be their major part of the role, major part of their responsibilities for a period of time. So, and yes, they are a conduit between the software provider, the partner, and the end user. So they must understand how the end users react. They must understand which end user is going to be easy to convert, or which end user is going to be a quicker, let's put it this way, their black belt, their help in the team, who will pick up first and be that Odoo or champion for that particular team. So it is quite important, quite an important role overall.
So I'm guessing that it's generally, whilst people might just think immediately, oh, that's going to be an IT person or whatever, but it's going to be somebody that has got a serious understanding of the operation side of the business, the users, the clients, users.
That's correct. That's correct. I mean, you don't need that person to be technical. You don't need that person to be, programmer. You don't, and particularly, my view and experience says that programmers actually make a bad single point of contact, a bad champion for the digital transformation, because they think in programming terms. You ask them something and they go, let's write the code to change it. It's not about changing the software. It's about making sure that you change the process or you make sure the current process works in the software out of the box. Changing the software is not a part of a quick start. You would generally go for a bigger transformation project for, if you want to bring in customizations to the software.
So if we were to go down this kind of implementation, so I suppose I was going to say like maybe additional responsibilities for a client compared to other ways of implementation, but I suppose it's maybe different, maybe it is more as well. So is it something that they really need to be completely on board with in doing it this way, especially if for them it's a brand new way of working?
First of all, you need quite a lot of support. You need to understand the process as well. You need to go, okay, well, we are definitely ready to do it this way. If you don't have, again, we have spoken about the software champion, the single point of contact quite a number of times. If you don't have somebody strong in that role, you should not start the project. You need to understand what it entails. Quite a number of times people implement the software and then go, it's not successful, it's the problem of the partner. No, it's not. Because in case of Quick Start, the responsibility of implementation lies on you, lies on the software champion, the champion who is going to implement the software. And that's why you want a really experienced, really integrated person in that role. Have I answered your question?
Yes, no, I'd say so. So because everything's almost been truncated to a certain extent, can you just take me through the phases of what the process or the project management might look like?
The project management is very lightweighted on this one, because what you're trying to make sure is that you're hitting some milestones on a per app basis. It's a very iterative operation as well. So you're effectively going, okay, well, we have decided we are implementing a software, bringing a particular department through digital transformation. You pick up, let's say, and I'll take an example of sales, one of my favorite ones, and you go, yeah, let's implement, sales is the lifeblood of business, as they say. So taking that through digital transformation effectively means you're going to impact quite a lot of people who are there, who are revenue generator for the company. Their main goal, and if you look at it, users' main goal in the business is not implementing software systems, is not implementing changes. Their main role is to generate the revenue if they are salespeople, deliver if they are delivery people, manufacture and manage the plant if they are manufacturers, and operations people. So bringing them through this change is a big job overall. So if we pick up sales, we go through the journey and we go, okay, well, look, we need to bring in some disruption here. We need to look at, the department. We need to bring that, define the milestones for that department to say, okay, by this time, we should be able to see our quotations being generated in a particular way. Then we would like to see our sales orders being created in a particular way and sent in a particular way to the customer. So you're creating these milestones for yourself, but you're creating these milestones with digital transformation in mind, that we have brought one process and we have brought that into the new software or new way of doing things. And you're repeating the same thing for the next department. But of course, the processes are different. You're then going, okay, delivery orders, my purchasing, my stock receivable and everything else. And you create milestones for then warehouse or delivery department, and similarly another department, similarly another department. So project manager or project management is lightweighted, and it's very tightly joined with the implementation or single point of contacts availability and management of time as well.
So from what you're saying, this really is like we're almost going live from day one or so, and then as everything's bedding in, we're designing, we're changing, we're amending, we're customizing, but it's all done in a live environment, and as people are working with things, they're carrying on business as usual. So I suppose they're testing as they're going, and they've got a good idea. Hang on a minute, it doesn't do this. So it all, again, that fast tracks that element of things.
Yeah, sometimes you would use, staging databases, and you would use staging or copy of live to not disrupt live environment, but only after a period of time when you have had some departments implemented in it. Now, so yes, they are testing as they go along, that changing the system as they go along. One of the other analogy I use on a regular basis is, when you're building, when you're creating a building, constructing a building, you're building a bit of scaffolding around it. You have to have some small bridges created, which will later on be destroyed. So for an example, we realize all of a sudden that yes, we are going to create quotations in a particular way, we are going to create sales orders in a particular way. Wait, we will still have to enter them manually in accounting software.
Yes.
You would realize quite a number of times that this is already being done on a manual basis anyway. So you're not changing it, you're only changing, rather than, let's say, coming from Word or Excel, they're now coming from a software system. Okay, well, let's create an integration or a CSV export and import. Fine, that's your scaffolding you've created for a period of time before you go and implement the full integration into another software, or you've implemented digital transformation in the other department as well, and now everything has come on board. So you may have to sometimes create small temporary bridges before you destroy them and go, we don't need it anymore.
So, and I know this is maybe a bit of a how long of a piece of string, but I really just want a kind of comparison. So really, what kind of timescales are we looking for an implementation of this sort, in terms of how that compares to maybe going down a more, and again, I use the word traditional route, but maybe more expected route or usual route?
And don't forget, we did the last webinar or last conversation like this, we did was the standard implementation. So yeah, standard implementation versus quick start. Timeline wise, you control it. Timeline wise, you decide what is progressing. Timelines wise, the single point of contacts availability and people's change or affinity to change will define this quite a lot. There are scenarios, we call them greenfield, brownfield sites. Greenfield sites, you can go live literally in a couple of days' time sometimes. But it's all about, what do you need to do? Is there a system? Do you need to bring data over? If you do need to bring data over, how much of the data? What if we start in the new system from scratch, no old data? Again, these are the decisions which will help These are the decisions which will allow you to, progress quickly into the implementation phase.
So I know communication is always an important thing, but it seems to me that communication is extra important in using a quick start process.
Correct. And yes, communicating within the stakeholders, communicating outside to the senior team directors, board of directors, both is very important here. You need to make sure, see, all of us are different. So if you look at it, some of us react very well when it comes to video content. Some of us react very well when it comes to audio content. Some of us, want to read the user manual. So you'll have to make sure a particular type of training is available to users. You will also have to make sure that you're telling them about the change before the change comes on board. They should know about it on a regular basis, and they should generally take a small change on board so that they don't feel threatened, and they don't feel scared of the change either. So yeah, you'll have to make sure that you're communicating. And I always say there is nothing called over communication. If people think that they don't want to hear this from you, they will decide not to hear it.
Yeah.
Themselves out. Yeah. But you should try and communicate as much as you can. And
would you have any tips or any advice for somebody who actually wants to try this way of working? You've agreed that you can do it this way. So other than other things we discussed about the importance of choosing that single point of contact, that software champion or whatever, any other advice at all?
Single point of contact, you're right. Create your milestones, your project plan. Make sure that you hit them as well. There is another thing as well. If you give something unlimited amount of time, it'll never finish.
Yeah, it will take that amount of, tasks tend to take as long as the amount of time they're allocated to.
Correct.
So it's nothing like a deadline to focus the mind, I don't think.
Exactly right, Erica. Those deadlines are met. And then go live according to those deadlines. Make sure that the system, the transformation goes live according to those deadlines. So these will define the correct single point of contact, the correct software champion. 2, put some project plan in place. 3, give them ample time as well. Make sure that they are not overburdened. And 4, smaller deadlines and repeat them more often, change them more often rather than being stuck to them.
I suppose there's going to be, from the client side of things, quite a lot of trust in this, but also they have to be confident about the process. I'm not saying confident in whoever's providing it, but actually they've got to take that first step and actually believe in it and go for it. If there's that reticence, I'm guessing that it's not going to work so well.
Mm-hmm. If they don't see you need to start seeing results pretty quickly. If you are the sponsor of the project, if you are the budget owner, you want to see, response pretty quickly. You want to see changes pretty quickly. And that's what Quick Start gives you. One of the other thing, of course, which is very to be very careful of is Quick Start is generally time and material. So you're working on a project which is going to suck quite a lot of time of your own software champion, as well as any partner working with that software champion as well. So you need to control that time as well. You need to make sure deadlines are there, but then they need to have ample time, not too much. You need to make sure your software champion is doing more work rather than your, partners. Because partners will be external. They will never be in the business forever. So you need to make sure that you take it on board. Spend your own time as well. If you're the business owner, if you're the director of the company, I would say you must learn the software as good as, any other user needs to. If it doesn't come from you, other users aren't going to do it either.
Yeah, and I suppose by doing that as well, then they actually can understand the full, scope of what the software that they've invested in, and actually we'll then see, well, maybe we could use it for this, or how about we use it for that? And
learning about the software, I mean, it's like any other education. The more you learn, the better you become at it. And yes, you can then think of other areas of improvement. You can then pick up other processes which can come into the software as well. Sometimes the software can even help you drive new, business processes and or product lines. We spoke to a client and we realized that yes, they did not have subscriptions or they did not have recurring income. And we gave them a couple of ideas. We told them that the software supports it. And they're like, yay, let's launch this. And all of a sudden, yeah, they had another stream of income, which they didn't think of before. Possible.
Well, I think I know a lot more about this again now than I did to begin with. So thank you. But before we sign off today, is there anything that you think that we haven't covered, or anything really that you'd like to add that you don't think we've touched on?
Erica, you've covered quite well. You've asked all the questions. I think in general, from our viewers' perspective, we always say if you have any questions around these, we always ask you to drop us a line, info@targetintegration.com. We'll be more than happy to answer these queries for you. We are creating these videos, we are creating these blogs for you particularly in mind, but then there is always an opportunity to improve them as well from our perspective. Quick start way of improving the videos, right? Yes, definitely we can do that. So we can answer them for you in the next opportunity. But yes, thank you, Erica, for asking all the questions, and hopefully this helps everybody who's thinking of implementing a new software system in their business. If they're thinking of going down the quick start route, this video should help them.
That's great, Rohit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Erica. Bye.
Bye-bye.